You won't believe the tea we're spilling today? From secret breakups to shocking lies, this is Unreal Tea. Hit subscribe before the drama starts. Welcome everyone, Robyn, the golden wife or the breaking point. Since the beginning, Robyn Brown has had an invisible crown. Cody Brown, once a patriarch to a successful plural marriage, confessed on the dramatic Sister Wives Season 19 tell-all that he wished all of his wives to be as good as Robyn. This was not favoritism. It was a call for change. But change to what? Host Sukanya Krishnan, pointed and fearless, confronted Kody on the air. You wanted all of them to be like Robyn? She asked, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Kody didn't blink. He admitted it. His other wives were to become versions of Robyn. But the response wasn't stony silence. It was anger, pain, and finally, freedom. There was a time when Meri and Robyn were inseparable. Sisters in every sense of the phrase. But after Meri split from Kody, their so-called friendship evaporated like mist in morning sunlight. Discussing things with her friend Jen, Meri shared something chilling. I didn't believe the people who warned me about Robyn's manipulation. But when she disappeared on me when I needed her most, I saw her for who she really is. Meri's voice trembled with a mixture of sadness and anger. She never was my friend. She was a backstabber, acting like she was loyal. And now, Kody was wondering if she should become like that woman. Her reply, I am Meri. I will never be Robyn. Janelle, ever the practical one, couldn't help but laugh when informed of Kody's alleged ambition to bring his wives up to Robyn's level of higher love. Her sarcasm pierced the air. If that was something he wanted, he ought to have made it clear then, not now. I never once heard him speak of deeper love. He never even attempted to. Her tone had a muted sadness in it, the concession of all those years lost, love misspent, and hopes never voiced. You can't blame us for not living up to standards you never even outlined. In one of the most intense segments of the tell-all, Kody broke down, not in tears, but in frustration. I'm tired of feeling guilty for loving Robyn, he exclaimed. He portrayed himself as the victim, cornered, criticized, and crucified, for loving a woman he believes he shares a spiritual connection with. He portrayed Robyn as the only person who knew him, who loved him the way he had to be loved. He insisted that he never meant to harm anyone, but that his relationship with Robyn was ordained by God, a spiritual clarity he had never known before. But to his previous wives, this was not divine. It was heartbreak. The most raw pain was not from words, but from silence. When life fell apart for Meri, she went to Robyn. But Robyn remained silent. No call, no visit, no hug. That silence was louder than any fight. Meri remembered dismissing warnings others had for Robyn's manipulation. But now, looking back, it all made sense. What I thought was loyalty was just an illusion. Robyn's friendship was a performance. This wasn't about Kody anymore. It was about the faith they'd all had in someone who now seemed like a stranger wearing a mask. The wives weren't just betrayed by a man, she was betrayed by the system she'd been taught to have faith in. A system that valued obedience over autonomy, loyalty over self-value. Christine had gone ahead in 2021, saying she was better off without Kody. Then Janelle, and lastly, Meri. What brought them together wasn't revenge. It was wake-up. They had come to the understanding that love, if only on conditions, isn't love at all. They weren't leaving a man behind. They were abandoning a life that repeatedly made them lesser versions of themselves so they could be loved more. In honest interactions with Sukanya, Meri and Janelle left no doubt. They didn't want to be judged against someone else's measure. Meri explained, I won't adjust who I am to make someone else more at ease. Her tone wasn't indignant, it was resolute. Janelle did the same. He never made the attempt to develop that deeper bond he now says he desired. These were not jaded exes. They were women who had finally found their voices, opting to stand in truth rather than appeasement. Kody, now a former master of plural marriage, now stands alone, living a monogamous existence with the one wife he once brought in to shore up the family, but one who might have sped its downfall. He now asserts, that he wants no part of remarriage or polygamy. His vision of a harmonious plural family is in shambles, and yet he believes his romance with Robyn is the only thing that counts. The wives, meanwhile, are creating something much stronger. A life of truth, simplicity, and liberty. This saga is more than betrayal. It's awakening. What occurs when women, suffering in silence for so long, finally find their voice. They've taken their pain and turned it into purpose. Their past into power. Their heartbreak into a blueprint to heal. And in all of it, they've demonstrated something powerful. You don't have to be someone else to be worthy of love. You just have to be you. Even while Kody declares his love for Robyn, physical and emotional distances between him and his other children remain further apart. The once promising Coyote Pass land, a mutual aspiration of the family, is now a representation of unrealized promises and unfulfilled legacies. Where now they had thought to build a home together, their lies still land in silence, reminding them of the silence between them. The land was to bring them together. Instead, it served to push them further apart. As Meri said, it wasn't just dirt. It was supposed to be a future. Now it's just a memory of what could have been. As Kody holds on closer to Robyn, the cracks in their last bond start to appear. No longer embraced by a big plural family, Robyn is experiencing the full impact of the emotional after-effect. The very togetherness she once complained that she desired has vanished. In their private confessions, she's watched crying, questioning whether Kody will bring in new wives to revive their initial dream. But Kody, exhausted and bitter, responds that polygamy has not worked for him. "It hit me in the face. I'm not going back," he says. Now Robyn is left with a man who laments the fantasy she once assisted in destroying, and the emptiness of a family that no longer sees her as one of their own. Janelle once wrote of a haunting epiphany. "We were never enough, not because we were not loved, but because we were never Robyn." Every holiday, every family event, even the quiet evenings, they all became platforms for comparison. The psychological cost of being held up against a perfected image drained them. Even the loving moments, once spontaneous and genuine, seemed like performances in a pageant they didn't sign up for. Behind every smile was a quiet question. Am I performing well enough today? At the heart of their broken home was Coyote Pass, a property they had fantasized sharing together as one. But the dream was shattered. After the divorce, the land was a reminder of all that failed: separation, fairness, and broken promises. Kody held on to it as if it were a legacy to be salvaged. But to the wives, it was an open wound every time they saw it. It was no longer land. It was a cemetery of trust. Robyn had asked Kody if he intended to marry another wife. His response? A weary head shake and an admission. "Polygamy hit me in the face." He eventually confessed he couldn't keep space open for more than a woman. His realization came too late, though. The harm was already done. Polygamy held out the promise of abundance, but gave only emotional bankruptcy. Meri sat with Sukanya in silence for a long moment before speaking. The silence hurt more than the words. She wasn't only referring to Kody, she was referring to Robyn, to family, to a home that once rung out with children's laughter, and now was filled with silence and quiet deceptions. At times, what is left unsaid wounds the deepest. They used to be a team, an unusual American family embracing an intricate lifestyle. But it became evident, no team existed, only Robyn and Kody, and the rest trying to stay alive. Outwardly, they acted out the role. In private, they lived in separate heartbreaks, each walking on tiptoes around the widening gulf. They were no longer sister wives. They were strangers living under one roof. Meri's voice shook when she spoke these words. "We had called it a spiritual marriage, but I was spiritually abandoned." Kody had previously insisted that his relationship with each wife was sacred, but Meri, Janelle, and Christine came to slowly realize that that sacred bond was only sacred when it was convenient, and vows counted for nothing when love wasn't returned. The tell-all was not just a program, it was a reckoning. Viewers finally got a glimpse of Kody revealed, not as a guy who fell in love, but as a person who required emotional surrender in the guise of being fair. Christine stood firm. Meri set boundaries. Janelle released. Each of them came to terms with the truth. You cannot heal where you were wounded. No longer bound by his version of reality, the wives are writing their own narratives. They're not the leftovers of a lost marriage. They are survivors of emotional erasure. Their voices ring out stronger now. Their platforms expand. And with each utterance, they reclaim what was stolen: dignity, identity, and the right to love unconditionally. The path forward isn't lined with regret. It's cleared with courage. Christine, Meri, and Janelle have entered a future where love isn't transactional, and where they no longer need to apologize for not being someone else. They're no longer the characters in Kody's narrative. They're the authors of their own. This family's drama is far from over. So smash like if you're TH Team Wives, subscribe for the next explosive update, and drop a comment below. Who do you think will win? Stay shady, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next scandal. Behind TLC Sister Wives out.